You know, it's that time of year when people start to get a little more critical of their elected officials. No surprise, general election just a little more than a month away. And if you want your voice heard, lawmakers actually want to hear it through a vote on the November ballot, which prompted this viewer question from PJ. A lot of initials today in our viewer questions. What is this showing up on my absentee ballot, said PJ. I thought the legislature already made its decision. Are they asking voters to change that decision? And this is what PJ is referring to, and this is what it looks like on the ballot. Short answer is no, they're not asking you to change that. She's talking about this special session where lawmakers passed tax rebates, lowering the income tax rate and pushed more dollars to Idaho public schools. The advisory question that is on the ballot is just Idaho lawmakers asking for public opinion. So you get to tell them if they, well, did a good job or not. It's how the question is phrased, though, that has a lot of people talking online. Here's Andrew Bartline.
A proud North Idaho resident, better described as a skeptic.
Yeah, I do.
Aaron Reed stays up to date to stay informed.
Read lots of news, listen to a lot of political commentators.
He doesn't pledge a belief to one side.
Cards on the table. I'm not a fan of either the Republican or the Democratic parties.
But he does find common ground to the right.
As far as values, highly conservative.
Which is why Reed generally approves of the 2022 special session, where Governor Brad Little called lawmakers to the State House to pass $500 million in one-time tax rebates, to lower the state income tax rate, to funnel $410 million to Idaho public schools.
Giving money back to the taxpayer when there's a surplus, I'm okay with that.
What he's not okay with is the advisory question on the 2022 general election ballot.
The wording was very leading.
The advisory question is non-binding. It makes no legal changes, but it's a tool for lawmakers to gauge public opinion. It reads, do you approve or disapprove of the state of Idaho using the
record budget surplus
to refund $500 million back
from the hardworking Idaho taxpayers,
cut ongoing income taxes by more than $150 million,
and put more money into our classrooms by increasing education and student funding by a record $410 million. Your approval would combat historic inflation
by turning money to taxpayers, creating a simple flat tax, and making
the single largest investment in public education
in Idaho history.
It's very guiding language, and it doesn't have any part to play on a ballot.
And it doesn't have a spot in Jeff Lyons' research.
I will say that that's not how I would write a question if I was doing a survey and I wanted to know what the public thought about this.
Lyons is an associate professor of political science at Boise State University.
But the language basically sort of gives the positives or the upsides to the tax cuts and the investments that are being made, but it doesn't discuss any alternatives or possible downsides. So because of that, I think you could definitely say that it's leading the respondents, or in this case, it's leading the voters to say that they support it.
So who wrote the advisory question? The same people who wrote the law. The final page of House Bill 1 says lawmakers want to be responsive to what people want. The bill specifically frames the advisory question word by word for the upcoming ballot. But Lyons says there's likely a different motivation.
The way that the question is worded is probably going to overstate support, right? Since it's worded in kind of a favorable fashion. So my guess is that it primarily is used by lawmakers who were in favor of this legislation to sort of talk about the successes of the legislation that they passed and to say things like, X number of Idahoans support the kind of work that I've been doing.
Lyons says politicians have always found ways to favorably present their work. He says this is just another way for politicians to push themselves up, and it's nothing new.
My guess is that it largely doesn't impact a whole lot.
But much like the data that will likely come out of the vote, Reed feels misled.
That's the problem. Give us the cold hard facts. Don't use leading language.
Professor Lyons says the advisory votes are not very common in Idaho, or really in any other state that has a strong ballot initiative process. And this question has sparked a lot of discussion online, which is kind of how it came across our way. A lot of people making jokes about it, like, what if I am a taxpayer but I'm not hardworking? Like, there's language in it to where,
yeah. So, do you like money and do you like kids? Check yes.
Pretty much, that's what it comes out to.
Okay, so it is about the referencing of the language used to kind of say, hey, we did a good job, right?
Well, you get a really good number, and then you can use that when you're up for election again and say 90% of people, or whatever the number comes out to, approved of whatever I chose to do.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for paying attention to the details, Andrew.